are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. That means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Working towards the weekend, and glad you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos. And we got a lot to get to, as we always do on Thursdays. Luke Johnson talking Saints, draft class, and undrafted free agents in 15 minutes. Joe Healey from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team talking about the SEC weekend to come. Got a 2025 mock draft where the Tigers projected in the first round of that. Damonic Williams set to make his decision at some point today. The TCU transfer has visited LSU. He's visited Oklahoma, Texas. Where do things look from that perspective? We'll talk about it at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, talking some baseball at 2:15. So hang out with us for the next 2 hours. We are fired up to be here. Pitching announcements have been made for LSU and Texas A&M, the number one team in the country, headed into Alex Box Stadium for a 3-game set this weekend. Not a ton on the line for the Aggies right now. Their RPI is 1. They're in great shape in terms of the conference. In all likelihood, barring some sort of massive 9-game collapse, they'll be hosting a regional, and if they get there, a super regional at Bluebell Park. Well, they'll be blowing bubbles like my 2-year-old child, but they're good, so we need to talk about them, and the pitching announcements are out. I want to be pretty clear here. I'm going to talk a lot about Texas A&M's entire team tomorrow. I have told you a lot over the last 2.5 months about Braden Montgomery and Jace Lavalette and Gavin Grahovic and Ryan Targach. Like I've talked, their offense is exceptional, and the bullpen has some really, really good pieces. And I will talk about that tomorrow. I'm going to get Travis Brown on. He'll talk about it from an AM perspective. I don't want to cloud your judgment here like I'm just throwing on purple and gold glasses and seeing this thing completely skewed. I know how good Texas A&M's baseball team is. That is not the purpose of this segment right here. I'm going to tell you about their starting pitching rotation that they've announced today. And it is the reason why this team that has been so good and has won 6 league series in a row and boasts such a great offense and is ranked number 1 in the country by just about everyone, it is the reason I rank Arkansas ahead of them when I do my power rankings on Wednesday. This starting rotation is not that good. You're looking at an A&M team that pitched it extremely poorly last year, which is most of the reason that they didn't host a regional, or one of the last teams in the field, and got beat out in Palo Alto. And they've been better this year. And if you look at Ryan Prager's numbers as a whole, he looks like an ace of the number 1 team in the country. I'll give you his numbers as a whole on the season. He's 8-0. That's pretty good. 2.59 ERA. That's very good. 59 innings pitched, 80 strikeouts to 9 walks. Wow, this guy's awesome. Hold on. The 6'3 left-hander missed all of last year, so he's a redshirt sophomore, missed it with injury. Against the SEC, how's that look? Well, his ERA is not 2.59, it's 4.33, almost up 2 runs. 35 and a third innings pitched, he's given up 36 hits, more than a hit an inning. Those 80 strikeouts that we're talking about for Texas A&M and Ryan Prager, well, you look at against SEC teams, it's only 40. Half his strikeouts were in the pre-conference. 40 strikeouts to 6 walks. Those 40 strikeouts and 35 and a third, all of a sudden, we're not talking about Aaron Nola. We're not talking about Paul Skeens. We're not talking about Hagen Smith. We're talking about a guy whose batting average against is 254, and I'll give you a couple of his outings this year. In Gainesville, Florida, he made it 2 1/3 innings, 7 hits and 6 earned runs. Okay? Against Bama, 3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. Okay? Auburn, awful offensively. 4 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs. Again, he's not a terrible pitcher. He's not at all. He's not a dominant pitcher. This A&M baseball team is very good. Ryan Prager is an SEC too. That's what he is. And then you go to Justin Lampkin, who will pitch on Saturday. Cut out of kind of the same cloth. They're both big, 6'3", 6'4", left-handed pitchers, just north of 200 pounds. Lampkin looks like has decent numbers if you look at him in the totality of the year. 2-1, 4.47 ERA, 59 strikeouts of 15 walks. Like, okay, that's pretty good stuff. Wait a second. What's he done against the SEC? Well, his SEC ERA is 6.83. In 27 and 2/3 innings, he's given up 31 hits, significantly more than a hit an inning. 21 earned runs, 32 strikeouts to 10 walks. He has not gone 4 complete innings in 4 of his 7 SEC outings. Again, some of the outings, some of the numbers. At Florida, 4 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs. Auburn, again, can't hit a lick. 3 1/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. At South Carolina, 3 1/3. Again, didn't get through the 4th inning. Gives up 5 earned runs on 6 hits. Vanderbilt didn't get out of the 2nd. Inning and a third, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, yanked him. Bama, an inning and 2/3, 5 hits and 5 earned runs in an inning and 2/3. Again, his SEC ERA is 6.83. Now, last time out against Georgia was his best outing of the year. 5 2/3, 1 hit, no runs. And there are some good outings from Ryan Prager as well that I didn't talk about because I'm making a point. But I'll circle back and give you some of the good from Ryan Prager. At South Carolina, 6 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs. Against Vanderbilt, he was great. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs. There are outings that are pretty good, but I could point to Gage jump outings that have been fantastic too. LSU matches up with A&M's starting rotation. I can say that unequivocally. Gage Jump and Luke Holman have every bit the ability of Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin. LSU's offense, which, oh, by the way, is pretty right-handed, both these guys are left-handed. Now, I don't know what their splits are. Like the Cubs have a guy, Mark Leiter Jr., he's right-handed. Left-handers can't hit him, and right-handers hit him hard. Like some guys have reverse splits. But traditionally speaking, obviously, left-handed pitchers have trouble with right-handed bats. Well, Paxton Kling's right-handed, and Mac Bingham's right-handed, and Tommy White's right-handed, and Jarrett Jones is right-handed, and Michael Braswell's right-handed. Alex Milazzo's right-handed, Hayden Travinsky's right-handed. Stephen Milam can hit right-handed. You can get pretty right-handed pretty quick if you're LSU. Josh Pearson may have to sit. And you're going to put Larson in there, obviously. But you can get pretty right-handed. LSU is outmanned in this series as a whole. We'll talk about the bullpens and the lineups. For the sake of just talking about A&M's rotation, it is not that good. And I think why they're going to be susceptible in postseason play. Because they don't have Skeens to hand the ball to. And if you want to go, well, no one has Skeens. They don't have Hagen Smith to hand the ball to. They don't have Alex Lang to hand the ball to. The stuff's pretty average, and the results have been pretty average for these guys. Now, they win a ton because they hit a bunch of homers. And look, they're a team that we just saw last week against Georgia, got down 9-0 before they ever grabbed a bat. They scored 8 in the bottom of the first and run ruled them 19-9. I get it. It's a good team. Maybe the best team in the country. But if we're just talking about LSU matching up offensively against Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin, I'm willing to watch. Because it's just not one of those situations. Like I sat here and told you before that Thursday night when Hagen Smith got the ball, I was like, folks, this is not going to be that fun to watch. You're going to strike out a bunch. You're probably not going to score. Like it's just not going to be that much fun to watch because it's just too much for college kids to handle at this point, and nobody's handled Hagen Smith yet. I don't feel like that at all when Ryan Prager grabs a baseball and starts warming up tomorrow at the box. And I feel like that's probably going to be Jay Johnson's message to his team. You know, sometimes I think it's important to preach how you've got to lock in the midweek against Tulane or at Missouri when their record is atrocious. Like, you may have to tell your guys to amp up. I think if I'm Jay Johnson this week, I'm going, look, I realize, guys, these guys are number 1 in the country, but look at these numbers. Look at what South Carolina did to this guy. Look at what Vanderbilt did to this guy. Look at what Bama and Florida did to this guy. Just do what we tell you to do. We'll hit this guy. You should have no fear. That's kind of the way that I see it. And trust me, if you're driving around or you're listening on YouTube or you're catching us on demand and you're thinking, God, this guy is relentless with his sunshine. This team has not beaten anybody worth a flip all year long. They've beaten Missouri and Auburn. They're on the outside looking in for the tournament. Can you please talk about defensive tackles this baseball team shot? Like, I got you. I understand where you're coming from, okay? But I am calling this like I see it. It will disappoint me if either Ryan Prager or Justin Lampkin works into the 7th inning and LSU's got 1 run. Like, that should not happen. You've got too good of coaches and too good of players against these guys who are SEC 2s and 3s to carve you up. Doesn't rule it out. I just don't expect to see it. LSU should score in this series. Do they score enough? I don't know. A&M's going to hit some homers. But we'll see. It's at the box. Hopefully there's a good crowd there tomorrow. We'll certainly break it down a little bit further on tomorrow's show. We'll talk to Chris Blair a little bit about what he's seen from this team over the last 2 weekends at the in the middle of hour number 2. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Luke Johnson covers the Saints. We'll talk to him next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. I mean, how good is that? Up to $1,000 bet reset for new users if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is,
the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. 2 more Saints undrafted free agents join us, Trajan Jeffcoat and Sincere Hainsworth. And Kendall Rogers stops by to preview the baseball weekend ahead in the SEC. It's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on this Thursday, brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Luke Johnson covers those Saints for The Advocate, joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, does so now. Luke, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Odds Taliesin Fuaga plays left tackle to start the season for the Saints next year.
I'll go 40%. Just because I think it's completely dependent on what happens with Ryan Ramczyk. I don't feel very good about Ryan Ramczyk. So I still think that the ultimate landing spot for him is on the right side. But if Ramczyk kind of defies expectations here and actually does play, then I think they'll try him on the left side. And I think he's probably their best bet there right now.
They've added some veterans on the offensive line. What's the competition look like at left tackle, and is Trevor Penning at this point considered involved?
He'll absolutely be involved, which I think is smart. Look, this is the first time in his professional career he's had a full offseason that wasn't dealing with injury or preparing for a combine or something like that. He's worked with some kind of high-level coaching this offseason. I think they're going to be getting better coaching on the offensive line just in mini camp, training camp, et cetera. I do think that there's a chance that he's a starting caliber player for them. I mean, look, it was only 2 years ago he was taken the first round. He was injured his entire rookie season, and then last year just kind of was what it was. I don't think you can go into the year just anticipating the light bulb is going to turn on for him. But I don't think you can completely rule it out. And if he figures it out, I think he can still be a good player. It's just you just can't bank on it.
Yeah, I think that's obvious to pretty much everybody involved here. They go Kool-Aid McKinstry in the second round, trading up to get him. Is that a signal that Marshawn Lattimore may be available?
I mean, I certainly think it makes that conversation easier to have. I don't think it's a sign that it's definitely happening. I just keep thinking back to a couple of years ago when the Saints were absolutely loaded at corner going into a year. They had it was Alontae Taylor's rookie year. They had Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore returning as starters. They had Bradley Roby on the slot. They had C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They decided to trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson because it was so deep. And then by week 4 or 5, Chris Harris is signing off the street to be a starting player for you. I just don't think you can ever be deep enough there. It's so important to have starting caliber corners on your roster. It's they wouldn't have been half as good as they were last year if Ike Yadam didn't just pan out for them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's never a reach. And it's never a bad idea to add to a position that's already deep at corner. Right now he's their number 4 outside corner, and that's a really, really good option to have. And if some team just blows you away with an offer from Marshawn Lattimore, then you can listen to it now because you have a realistic option to replace him in the lineup.
Were you surprised that the Saints kind of stayed pat everywhere else and just made their picks?
Very, because it just kind of goes against everything that they've done in their history. But I think that this offseason has kind of been a lot like that. They're typically a little more active in free agency. They always wait out that first wave, but they usually add a couple more impact players, and they still have space. But they kind of stood pat. They made bottom of the roster type additions. Maybe Cedric Wilson turns out to be like a really nice signing at the price they got him at. But like, I'm pretty sure he is the only one of the free agents they signed more than a 1-year deal. So yeah, I think they're kind of looking at their recent history and their aggressiveness trading up, and their aggressiveness with the cap management, their aggressiveness in free agency, and they're like, look, this hasn't been working. Let's take a little soft reset here, and be a little bit more smart with how we spend our assets. So I think it worked out really well. They didn't really give up much to move up 4 spots in the second round. They gave up 2 day 3 picks, which whatever. Like those guys. Even though I really like the guys they added on day 3 this year, I think those guys have like a really uphill climb at making any roster. So I think they played it smart this year, and I think they came away with a nice draft.
You used the word I was going to ask you when you're in the middle of the answer. I was like, is it fair to call it a bit of a reset? And then you went ahead and used it. Are you surprised at that kind of shift in the culture of the franchise?
Well, I am, just because it goes so against their character in the last, it goes back a long ways. They've always been aggressive in how they've addressed this team. And, especially when you consider, like, just being honest here, this is a must-win year for Dennis Allen. I was kind of expecting them to be a little bit more aggressive because of that. But I think this is a sign that he feels comfortable where he's at. He feels comfortable with the roster, and like, they need to take their medicine a little bit. They need to absorb a big cap hit for Mike Thomas in the meantime, and get the relief on June 1st when the transaction becomes official. They need to maybe not extend or renegotiate like every single big contract on their roster, because like they're put in a kind of a crippling position. So like, I think it was smart to do what they did while they're still, they still have aims to be competitive this year. I think there's a way you can do both things without just like maxing out all the time.
Where are you on the Spencer Rattler pick?
I mean, I love it. I get the criticism of it when you're looking at it like through a very narrow, short-term lens. Yes, they have much greater needs on their roster. Yes, they invested a 4th-round pick in a quarterback last year. Yes, the odds of Spencer Rattler turning into like a contributing player for this team are very low. But like, when you're talking about the number 150 pick in the draft, in a draft that is widely considered not to be very deep, like if you have a lottery ticket that's pretty good, like if the normal odds of hitting on a quarterback in the 5th round are like 1 in a million, and you feel like they're like 1 in 100,000 for this, like you take that 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Like if he pans out, it's going to be amazing. If he doesn't, it's the number 150 pick in a bad draft. There's no way this is a negative for the Saints. Like the odds of a 5th-round pick making the roster are already low. The odds of a 5th-round pick contributing in a major way are already really low. So like if this guy doesn't contribute for 3 years, but in the 4th year he's starting, or in the 4th year you can trade him for a better draft capital, like it's a really, really smart, sound investment. And I think, like, especially for a team like the Saints that doesn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback in the building right now, like, you should be investing in a quarterback every year or 2 and just see if that guy hits. Because if they do, I mean, like, it's so valuable.
Chatting with Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate, with us every single Thursday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Now that you've seen the draft, you've seen the early wave of undrafted free agents, and you kind of look at the roster, where does some free agent activity still need to happen, if anywhere?
I mean, I think there's 2 really clear positions where they're deficient still. I think I would add tackle, somebody who you feel confident to start football games for you. It doesn't have to be like David Bakhtiari is still out there. Like, I don't think he makes sense for the Saints just because the injury history is really, really scary. He hasn't played like high level football in a while. But yeah, I think there's still players out there who could start football games for you. And you need to have that availability in case Ryan Ramczyk is not able to play. And then safety. I mean, there's so many like Pro Bowl players still available at safety on the free agent market. Justin Simmons still out there. Eddie Jackson is still out there. I mean, you could go like down the list. There's like 5 guys who've made a Pro Bowl at safety who are still free agents. And the Saints have Tyrann Mathieu and Jordan Howden, and that's really about it. Jonathan Abram, I guess you can count him. But like, I think they still need some help there. I would expect them to at least kick the tires on that market. And then the name that always just like pops up to me is Hunter Renfrow. Like, I'm surprised he's not a Saint already. You're just considering his history with Derek Carr, considering the fact that the Saints kind of kicked the tires on trading for him last year. Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to cost a lot of money. Like, I don't see why the Saints wouldn't try to bring him in and see if they could kind of resurrect his career here.
We shall see. What's next for New Orleans? Is it rookie minicamp?
Yeah, rookie minicamp's coming up, I think, in 8 days. 8 days, 9 days, something like that. But, yeah, we'll be back out there on the practice field very soon, seeing some guys and some weird numbers.
We'll talk about it next week. Thanks, Luke.
All right, man.
He's Luke Johnson, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate. You can follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson for all your Saints information. Always remind you to download the Rouse's app. Makes your shopping so much more convenient. I personally love to go in Rouse's because it's a great shopping experience. It's clean. The selection is fantastic. You swing on in the one at Burbank and Lee. You've got the awesome seafood and the hot bar over there on the left. You got the deli. My wife loves shaved turkey on her sandwiches. They can do that for you. Some places won't shave it. They will over there at Rouse's. They got great selection of wine and spirits as well as you make your way through the store. But if you don't have time to go in there and do your shopping, download the Rouse's app. You can do all your shopping right there at the touch of a button. Your personal shopper can go in, make it all happen for you. You can pull up in at your designated time. They'll bring it right out as long as you spend $35. You will not spend an extra cent on a curbside pickup over at Rouse. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. We come back, Joe Healey, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team, getting ready for the weekend to come in SEC Baseball. That is next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus we're giving away Penn cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, that's all right. Join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn cash. All this and more make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes LUBA a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts
Join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. We're getting you ready for the weekend, the NBA playoffs, Kentucky Derby, and LSU baseball against Texas A&M. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Ruffino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's. Have a busy hour number 2. Chris Blair is going to join us at 2:15 to talk some baseball. And we'll also get you updated on LSU's search for a defensive tackle. Damonic Williams set to make his announcement at some point today, apparently. No news to this point, but the big-time defensive tackle from TCU visited Norman, Oklahoma, and the Sooners, Austin, Texas, and the Longhorns, Baton Rouge here, and the Tigers, and is set to make his announcement here at some point. So we'll keep you posted on kind of what the word is there and where LSU may turn for a defensive tackle. But time to talk a little baseball with Joe Healey, part of the SEC Extra team over at D1 Baseball, also the Highway to Hoover podcast, wherever you get your podcast. He and Mark Etheridge a couple times a week chopping up some SEC baseball, and he's always with us on Thursdays. Joe, how are you?
Doing pretty well, Hunt. Here we are, kind of at the business end of it, believe it or not.
Yeah, we really are, especially down here in Baton Rouge, and we'll certainly talk about that. But I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things that have been brought to everyone's attention over the last 7 days in the Southeastern Conference. One is a Georgia pitcher in the bullpen in College Station doing something, and the other is Jim Schlossnagle going on Texags Radio and talking about one team that's apparently got a feed of some sort in the dugout, and they're hitting 200 at home and 300 at home and 200 on the road. We'll start with the Georgia pitcher in the bullpen. What have you heard? What do you know? What do we think?
Well, yeah. First of all, the video is kind of funny because it's just him crouching in a corner of the bullpen. Which among the funniest responses I saw was some guy say, "Look, I'm the father of a young child, and so I can honestly say there's a 20% chance he's just over there pooping his pants because that's the way a child would do it. Just go over there and crouch and try not to be seen." Here's the deal. Like, the video evidence is pretty damning in some regards. I think we can all agree on that. Not even just in the bullpen, but the way he's fiddling with his glove while he's in the game, just kind of in an unnatural way. So the video evidence is pretty damning, and I don't think anyone really necessarily disagrees with that. I don't think there's anyone out here saying, like, look, there's nothing to see here. This is nothing. The issue is the A&M didn't ask for a glove check. They didn't call anything out with it. Obviously, Christian Maracna was not ejected. So there's really no mechanism by which there can really be much of any punishment here. Now, I would say that what I will expect, and I have heard this be talked about, is that it might be a situation where not only do we have more coaches looking for glove checks, but also for the postseason, there might be a situation where we look at opportunities to implement the MLB thing where, you know, if you're coming off the mound in between innings, the umpire goes over and kind of checks your glove, checks your hands, does all that jazz, because ultimately, we're only a few weeks from the postseason, but it's not like that takes a lot of equipment or rule updating to implement. It's just a simple glove check and a hand check. So, I think it is I don't expect there to be really any more news specific to this situation because, again, if he wasn't ejected or caught, there's really no mechanism to suspend him or do anything about it. However, I do think we are going to see a higher level of vigilance one way or the other moving forward.
And maybe a bigger point is it doesn't cost anything to have the umpire walk down the line and say, hey, show me your, and that in college baseball matters a lot of time. In Major League Baseball, they can kind of do whatever they want. But here we got to worry about expenses in all the ballparks. That is not one. As far as Jim Schlossnagle saying, hey, there's one team here that's hitting 300 at home and 200 on the road, and they got caught. I mean, what can you say about that?
Yeah, and supposedly, have gotten off the record that he's not the only one who has flagged this team in particular.
Okay.
So there's that. I thought the funniest part of it was him kind of phrasing it as like an economics issue of like, everybody could do this if we could all afford just to wire our dugouts for the live stream. I really don't know what to make of this one. And truth be told, I kind of assumed, and this is just on me for being naive, I guess. I just kind of assumed with the technology that we have available that there was, whether it was maybe it's not in the dugout, but maybe it's in the tunnel. Like I've kind of assumed that this stuff. Again, I'm not trying to implicate anyone or be naive, but I just kind of assumed that maybe this stuff had been going on, right? And that's on me, I guess, because these games are all over the place, right? We're living in an era where every single game, especially in the SEC, is live streamed. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the fix is there, like other than to tell whoever it is to stop it. But hey, I would be interested to ask follow-up questions of Jim Schlossnagle, like how much money are we talking, right? Because like, okay, let's just rig up all the dugouts, like, I don't know. It seems like this is one of those situations where, because it is college baseball, as you allude to when we were talking in the previous conversation, because it is college baseball, finances matter in a way they don't in the professional ranks. But I don't know, like I'm not an expert in internet cabling, but I don't feel like that would be something insurmountable to do. If that's going to level the playing field, then, I guess why not? I don't know. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants on this one.
It's interesting. I don't have a great answer either, but it's certainly interesting to hear the coach kind of come out there and say that. And clearly he's doing that on purpose. That's not something that just slipped out. He was doing that on purpose.
Sure. Like those were the words of a guy who's sick of it, right? Like it happened to us. I've heard other coaches complain about it. Like the word, it's basically a poorly kept secret within the confines of the league. So like we need to start putting some pressure to try to make this stop.
Let's go to the games this weekend, and I want to talk about Kentucky first because their schedule kind of broke perfectly right down the middle. Very, very easy up front, very, very difficult late, and they've lost the first two series of very, very difficult late, kind of in the way that LSU's won the first two series of very, very easy late. Any concern with Kentucky, the way they're playing? They put themselves in a position resume-wise where they've just got to stay afloat, but any concern with the way they're playing?
Yeah, you just can't crash the car at this point if you're Kentucky. But I do have concern about the way they're playing because on the field, the pitching was going to be their bigger concern this year. It was an older position player group. Now, honestly, the position player group's been better than I thought it would be. But even at its worst, you were like, okay, that's an old group. We saw what they could do last year. They're probably okay there. It was the pitching that was more of a concern, especially the bullpen. And the last 2 weeks, that pitching staff has buckled against arguably the two best offenses they've faced. I guess you could make an argument. I guess Georgia's is better, but that was early in the season. Certainly the last 2 weeks, it just hasn't gone well. The bullpen in particular has struggled, but even the rotation. I mean, Mason Moore hasn't been great. Dominic Nyman, the poor guy, has gotten 3 outs in his last 2 starts total. That's not great. So I do have a concern with how they're playing. Now, that being said, I do think they have a good matchup this weekend where they got Arkansas at home. Now, you might say, oh, that's a terrible matchup. It's Arkansas. I get that. I don't think Kentucky's going to score a ton of runs, but hey, if you're going to punch back and win a big series, take Arkansas's offense, put it in the big ballpark. I think you've got a puncher's chance there that if this game were in Fayetteville, I would think Kentucky would have basically no chance. I'm not saying Kentucky's going to win this series, but I would be shocked if they get swept. I think they'll get a game here. And then you got Florida and Vanderbilt the rest of the way. And again, to your point, I think they're going to do enough to hold on to be a top 8 seed. But it is going to be an interesting philosophical question for the committee if, let's say, coming home, Kentucky wins or loses 4 of its last 5 SEC series. I know how a team finishes is not an official metric for the committee. However, they are humans. And if they say, hey, this team is just not playing that well right now, like they've kind of coasted in here, maybe they get pushed off the 8 line to the 9 or 10. I could see that happening if they finish that poorly. But certainly if you're Kentucky, you don't want to leave any doubt.
We all understand that if LSU goes 11-19 in league play, like none of these conversations are relevant. But for the sake of the discussion, let's say LSU does finish with 12, 13, 14 SEC wins. Is it realistic to consider yourself battling for an NCAA tournament spot with Florida, with Alabama, with even Ole Miss if they were to win some games late? Are those teams LSU needs to pull against?
I think so, yeah, because again, the committee will tell you teams win bids, not conferences, but we're dealing with humans here, right? And I think there's this understanding that only X number of teams are going to get in. Right now in the SEC, that number has kind of been capped at 10. I don't think more than 10 deserve it this year. I'm not saying it's a bad year in the league, but it is a very the bottom half of the league's just been pretty mediocre this year. So I don't think that this is going to be a year where we look at record bids for LSU. So yeah, if you're scoreboard watching, I think it doesn't hurt to have some of those other bubble teams fall by the wayside. Root for Auburn this weekend to not completely knock Ole Miss out. If Ole Miss loses this weekend, they're done.
Yeah.
So that would be one. So yeah, and Florida's a fascinating one because they also have to stay over 500, which their schedule is tough. Like RPI is not a problem for them. Their next 3 series are against teams that all have top 10 RPIs. The issue is you have to be over 500 overall to be an at-large team. So basically, they need to go 5-4, I think it is, 4-5, and win their midweek game against South Florida to be above 500 going to Hoover. But even that gets complicated because if they go 0-1 in Hoover, it could put them back at 500 even. If they win a game in Hoover and go 1-0, then you open yourself up to taking 2 losses in Hoover, right, and that would put you back under 500. So that's the team that it breaks my brain just to think about all the permutations. But to answer your question, yeah, if you're LSU, you want to put yourself higher up in the pecking order because the committee they do sort the teams in the conference in a pecking order, and the higher you can get up in there, the more likely you are to get in.
We'll have eyes on Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama, 2 of which LSU plays here in the next 3 weeks. All right, let's talk about LSU and Texas A&M. My point in the open of my show today was that A&M is an excellent team. Their offense is absolutely relentless and has got star power. Their bullpen is fantastic. I don't know that their starting rotation is great. In fact, I don't think it's great. Tell me I'm right or I'm wrong.
I think you're right. I don't think it's great. I think Ryan Prager is very good, maybe excellent. But you get beyond that, Tanner Jones is a guy with good stuff, but is not currently a very good. He's a good but not great SEC pitcher, right? The stuff is great. His results are not great. And then Justin Lampkin has been as up and down as anybody else, really, in the conference in terms of just inconsistency. So I'm with you. Now the counter to that is their bullpen has been really good. Somehow Evan Aschenbeck, a soft toss and lefty, continues to be the most unhittable reliever in the conference 2 years running. They found something in Chris Cortez. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if in the postseason we maybe see Chris Cortez be a rotation guy as opposed to a reliever, just because he has the best raw stuff on the team. There's no doubt about that. So I do think the bullpen offsets some of that. But if you're LSU, you have to look at an opportunity of, hey, we could put them in a bind, especially in those last 2 games of the series of we need to try to, ambush starting pitchers early and often to where we're building up leads and then can maybe bring it in late in the game and coast to a victory. Trying to get in a, late inning battle of not only bullpen pieces, but offenses against A&M is just not going to be a good strategy this weekend.
It's one of those weekends where working up the pitch count of the starting pitchers is not really a priority. Just if you get a good pitch to hit, go, because the next guy that comes in out of the bullpen might be better than the guy that started. So I'm not too worried about the bullpen, right?
Yeah, that's right. You just need to find whatever pitch you want to hunt, whatever the scouting report tells you you're looking for. When you get it, take a big swing. That's really, and honestly, like for an LSU offense that you and I have talked a lot about hasn't been great. Like maybe that's what they need, is just kind of the simplicity of like, don't worry about trying to foul stuff off or, all that kind of, just whatever pitch that you feel comfortable hitting against this guy, whatever we're seeing in game, get it and rip. And maybe that ends up working into their advantage a little bit.
Jace Lavalette, one-time committed to LSU. I think Tiger fans know him well. Braden Montgomery is a guy that LSU coveted out of the transfer portal and didn't get. LSU fans know him well. And Gavin Grahovic's a guy I've talked about a bunch on these airwaves as a freshman that's been great. How dangerous is the rest of the other 6 guys?
Surprisingly dangerous, right? Like that was I had a question, and Mark Etheridge saw them first weekend of SEC play and said, yeah, the top half of the lineup is really good. And this is not me taking a shot at Mark, but I think he was right at the time. You can pitch to the bottom half of the lineup. Now, like, good luck. They've got, a couple of Ivy League transfers and Jackson Appel and Hayden Schott that really gave that lineup length. Ali Camarillo is not the most physical guy, but I think he's on a long on-base streak. Ted Burton's a guy who played for a Michigan team that's been in a couple of regionals. And oh, by the way, they've got a guy named Caden Sorrell, a freshman, who really wasn't playing much earlier in the season that has elbowed his way into playing time. So sometimes we get over our skis talking about lineups being 8 or 9 deep, but I mean, right now this one is. So again, I still probably take Tennessee. I don't know why I always confuse. I always say one and mean the other. I like Tennessee's lineup, I think, more than A&M's, but nobody would be wrong for saying that A&M is the best lineup in the conference and by extension the country.
We'll see. Should be an interesting 3 days down here in Baton Rouge at the box. We'll talk next week, Joe. Thanks for your time.
All right, Hunt. See you, buddy.
Joe Healey, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra package for all your SEC baseball needs. He and Mark Etheridge have got you covered there on D1 Baseball's SEC Extra package. As I mentioned, Highway to Hoover podcast, appointment listening for me every single week. All right, when we come back, a mock draft for 2025. How many LSU Tigers in the first round? Maybe more than you think. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com. I tell you all the time about their ability to install a security system at your home. We talk about the audio and video installations as well. How about Wi-Fi? If you've just got shoddy Wi-Fi at your house, you have a hard time getting your phone to pick it up, maybe you're too far away from the modem or the router and it's just not working, they can fix it for you. Mesh Wi-Fi is something that Audio Video Security Solutions installs all the time. It boosts your signal strength all over the house and just makes your life easier. Whether it's a smart TV back in the bedroom that sometimes doesn't work for you, or again, your phone that you just can't scroll properly because you don't have the right internet connection, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you out with that. The number I'm going to give you is not some line that might get you to a voicemail and a recording, and it's the owner's cell phone number. Mitchell Fisher, local company, he's the owner. He wants to be your point of contact. 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. That's Mitchell Fisher's cell. He is happy to help you. He was our point man all the way through with the installation of everything at our house, and he can do the same for you. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. You can find him on Instagram at avss_BR and online at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. 2 more Saints undrafted free agents join us, Trajan Jeffcoat and Sincere Hainsworth. And Kendall Rogers stops by to preview the baseball weekend ahead in the SEC. It's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Never too early for a mock draft, huh? Mock draft for next spring's NFL draft is up at ESPN.com. Got Carson Beck as the #1 overall pick, which surprised me a little bit. I thought Beck played well.
That's pretty
this
surprising.
year,
I mean,
but,
I will say that he does have my last name, so I would not be mad
and your
at
height.
that. And yeah, he's about as tall as me too, but that is very surprising.
So he's listed as #1 pick. Not really relevant here, but Will Campbell is relevant here. Listed as the #3 pick to the New England Patriots in this mock draft. So Will Campbell projected right now as a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I was curious to see who the next LSU Tiger was, and I was a little surprised because I thought I would see Harold Perkins' name next, and I do see Harold Perkins' name. But Emory Jones is next on this list, number 18 in this mock draft to the Cleveland Browns. I think Will Campbell probably gets more of the notoriety. He plays on the left side. But Emory Jones has done a great job at LSU. And I really, really thought last year that the writing was on the wall, that Lance Hurd was going to eventually take over at right tackle, and they would kick Emory Jones down to right guard. And it turns out that Miles Frazier and Emory Jones played well enough to hold off the young freshman, and inevitably it turned out that Lance Hurd ended up transferring to Tennessee. But Emory Jones, a very, very good player, obviously, and ESPN got him on the radar as the 18th pick in this draft. You find Harold Perkins' name down at number 24 to the Houston Texans. The blurb says, Perkins is an ideal fit in D'Amico Ryan's scheme. He spent time at first and second levels of the Tigers defense, but he is expected to be a full-time inside linebacker this season. Perkins is an explosive playmaker with 13 sacks and 28.5 tackles for loss over his past 2 seasons, but he has to improve his read and react skills. That's what's got to happen for Harold Perkins this year. It's certainly most important for those of us around here that he plays well enough for LSU to win football games. But as far as his draft prospects go, he's got to find a way to be a little bit more productive between the tackles and playing the run, as opposed to just hair on fire, get into the backfield and try to blow some stuff up. That's really fun for us to watch, and I want to see some of that. But the more down in, down out aspects of the game, Perkins has got to continue to play and progress in. So those are your LSU Tigers in the first round of this draft. Some SEC flavor, Walter Nolan and Landon Jackson right there at the end of the draft. I didn't see the Saints with a pick here. Let me see if they had one just out of curiosity. No, I don't. They don't have the Saints listed in here. There's got to be some sort of... Oh, there it is. Never mind. You got the Saints picking 9th, which is not ideal, but they've got Abdul Carter, an edge rusher from Penn State, there to kind of take Cam Jordan's place in his year 35 season. So Saints taking an edge rusher in the top 10. I could see the Saints picking in the top 10 this year. Jordan, I see you kind of shaking your head. You seem a little agitated by that that spot. You're not thrilled with the Saints picking 9th?
Top 10 again? Well, not again, but top 10.
You haven't
Yo,
picked
man.
in the top 10 in a while.
Oh, but still now, like top 10 after we're all in on Carr. Like, come on now. Come on.
Do you believe it's going to happen? Or do you think the Saints are going to be good?
Anything's possible with the Saints. We could be #1.
I'm sensing the Pelicans may have broken your spirit.
Oh, Saints destroyed it. Pelicans just stepped on it. So
it's tough times down in the Big Easy, but we'll see. I'm not used to the Saints being so high up the scroll list. They haven't picked in the top 10 in quite a long time, but they've got them picking there. But 3 LSU Tigers projected in next year's first round. Long way to go, but that's just where things stand a year out from the next NFL draft. If you missed any of our first hour today, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can find us, search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. I opened the show talking about Texas A&M's rotation. It's been announced LSU is going to go Gage Jump and Luke Holman. Texas A&M is going to counter with Ryan Prager on Friday, who's been their Friday night guy all year, and Justin Lamb can go Saturday. They've also got a TBA set up on Sunday. So went through some of that at the top of the show. Luke Johnson talked about the Saints undrafted free agent class as well as the draft class, kind of where things go from here in the offseason. If you missed that, you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. Joe Healey from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team was with us at 1:30 talking all SEC baseball, including LSU and Texas A&M. We'll go deeper into that coming up on tomorrow's show. We'll pause for SportsCenter. Busy hour number 2 coming up. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, talking baseball with us at 2:15. And when we come back, Damonic Williams. There's some smoke coming out about where he may decide to go. LSU desperately needs defensive tackles. Is the TCU product next up? Come back after SportsCenter. I'll let you know what we know. That's next.
The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA playoffs serve up a Game 6 doubleheader tonight. First up, the Pacers look for a series-clinching win at home against the Bucks. Milwaukee's Damian Lillard upgraded from doubtful to questionable for tonight with a right Achilles injury. Giannis Antetokounmpo still doubtful with a left calf strain. Later, the Knicks try for a series-clinching win on the road against the 76ers. ESPN's Brian Windhorst.
This is going to be a dogfight in the fourth quarter because that's what this whole series has been. And it's going to come down probably to a couple of mistakes or a couple of successes late in this game. And fatigue is going to play a huge role in Game 6 and potentially on Saturday in a possible Game 7.
Brian Windhorst. Bulls guard Alex Caruso is the winner of the NBA's Hustle Award. Tiger Woods will use a special exemption to play in the U.S. Open at Pinehurst in June. His regular exemption into the tournament ran out last year. It's the first time he hasn't automatically qualified for a major since the 1996 PGA, when he was still an amateur.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America. Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Very much firmly working towards the weekend now on this Thursday afternoon. Hope your work week has been a good one. Thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chris Blair in 15 minutes talking LSU baseball. Let's talk some football. Obviously, we know that LSU is in the market for one position and one position only in the transfer portal, and that is defensive tackle. And I didn't know when we sat here on January 10th what the spring transfer portal window would look like. What kind of talent is there? We got accustomed to the recruiting calendar as it was. And then we got accustomed over a couple of years with the transfer portal and how that looks. And certainly as LSU went to rebuild its roster from whatever that was at the Texas Bowl at the end of the Ogeron era and then the beginning of the Kelly era, LSU was very active in the transfer portal because they didn't have any players. So I was well aware that right there after the season ends and after the bowl games are over, you're going to see a ton of movement. Quarterbacks flying every which way. Lots of players, lots of positions, high-quality players moving on. Unhappy with the way a season went, unhappy with where they are geographically, unhappy with where a program is, a coach has been fired, position coach left. There's people moving all over the place. But in the college football landscape, there's not that much movement in May. Like, there's just not. Coaches are settled. All those losses and hardships from the fall are in the rearview mirror. Things are a little more stable in May than they are in December and January. So, like, what's available? And it turns out, like, I don't see any guys that are going to go in the top 20 in the draft in the transfer portal at defensive tackle, but there are some guys that have played some good football in the transfer portal at defensive tackle, and LSU has put the full court press on for 3 or 4 of them. And Philip Bliddy was one, and he was from Indiana, and he decided he was going to go to Auburn. So then everything points to Simeon Barrow, and everything points to Dominic Williams. And we know that Damonic Williams, the defensive tackle from TCU, he was a starter as a true freshman who was 17 years old on TCU's national runner-up team. And he played well for them this past year as well. And he's looking to transfer. And we know that his LSU visit went well. And we know that LSU is squarely in the mix. But so is Texas. So is Oklahoma. And it comes down to a number of factors. And I've never talked to Damonic Williams. I never talked to anybody in his camp. And I don't know what's said on all those campuses. But today is supposed to be decision day for Damonic Williams. And if you look around at the tea leaves, whether it's on Twitter, on message boards, insiders, recruiting prediction machines, all those kind of things, it sounds like LSU is on the outside looking in for Damonic Williams. And that's not good. But I'll say the same thing now that I've said for years in high school recruiting and even the transfer portal. You can't lock high schoolers in transfer portals in a broom closet and make them stay and enroll in school. You make your pitch that includes playing time, development, championships, history, environment, campus life, academics, position coach, NIL packages, all of it. And I think a lot of people, when you're quote-unquote analyzing recruiting, you go straight to money. That's the only thing that matters. And that may be the case in some instances. And certainly, if one school comes up with an NIL package of $890,000 and the other one says, yeah, we got $25K lying around in the couch cushions, yeah, we can. That's going to be about money. But I also believe that case to case, there may be a situation where NIL is comparable. Maybe you're off by $100,000, maybe you're off by $70,000, but there are other factors that sway you away from that difference in the NIL packages. Call me naive. Say I'm stupid. It's about the money. It's capitalism. That's all that matters. I tend to disagree a little bit. But in the event that it is about money, LSU has money. I just won't listen to any argument that LSU has to cry broke. Now, if Texas or Texas A&M or one of those schools puts together a $20 million package, okay, LSU's not going to swim in those waters. So if you want to call that broke, then I guess we can do that. But I don't think that's happening. I think these largely are six-figure packages. Largely. That's the understanding that I have. And when you start talking about a football program that is buying out coaches for tens of millions and hiring another one for $100 million and buying out a defensive staff for tens of millions and hiring another one for tens of millions and putting together the number one high school recruiting class in the country for next year, I'm just simply not prepared to sit here and suggest that LSU has no money. I just can't do that. If you line it up cent for cent with A&M's endowment, yeah, you'll lose that battle on the whole. But I think case by case, LSU has proven that when money needs to be found, it is. So I don't know what is swaying Damonic Williams' thoughts, but it feels like Norman, Oklahoma may be home for him here in pretty short order. Hopefully something changes. I hope that happens quickly, but it sounds like Oklahoma might be the team to beat based on what people are saying. So then all eyes turn to Simeon Barrow, who I think is slightly less of a player, but still a massive position of need, a guy who's played in the Big Ten, started for multiple years, has had some production, and would be a big help to LSU. But let me be clear. If LSU comes up short for Damonic Williams and Simeon Barrow, I believe this defense is in trouble. I don't know how else to put it. I don't believe from a depth and talent perspective, your defensive line is anywhere close to championship caliber. I don't know that it would be championship caliber if you plugged in Damonic Williams and Simeon Barrow. But I'm confident in saying that it's not without either one of them. Now, there are more defensive tackles in the transfer portal, but those are the top two by just about everyone. And those guys have played quote unquote Power 5 football. It's not a question of whether or not they translate from a lower level up. You're not talking about a Jared Verse situation where you think that Albany to Florida State, it might work. This is Power 5 to Power 5. And that doesn't always work either. We've given the example of Jarrett Bernard-Converse and Deuce Chestnut. Maybe the exact same profile coming into Baton Rouge. One of them was a huge helper on an SEC West championship team. The other guy was out of there in a month and a half. There's always some question about whether or not it's going to work. But right now, LSU is playing with fire. And I don't know if it's NIL. I don't know if it's the pitch one to another from, playing time. It can't be. Environment, culture. I don't know. But you're playing with fire if you don't add a defensive tackle. And this is not just me talking. Brian Kelly has said outwardly, defensive tackle is the only position that we're targeting. And he said, we're going to address it. So, he's acknowledged there's an issue. And right now, it looks like they are teetering on the edge of not filling it with the Power 5 targets that they have brought into campus for visits and been very interested in. So the story's not finished, and we won't assess this thing in totality until it is. But right now, it looks a little dicey if you're talking about LSU's defensive tackle situation. We'll wait till the dust settles, but right now, Damonic Williams kind of feels like things are trending not in a super positive way. That's some LSU football talk here on this Thursday. If you're looking for our LSU football content, you can always find it on YouTube. At Hunt on LSU is the channel. You can subscribe to it, like it. If you're just looking for LSU football content, no baseball, no basketball, just simply football and recruiting, you can find it right there on our YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. We always appreciate it if you do subscribe. We'll step aside. Chris Blair is the voice of the Tigers. LSU welcomes the number one team in the country in for a weekend set. We're breaking it down with the voice coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Charles Hanniger join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. We'll be getting you ready for the weekend, the NBA playoffs, Kentucky Derby, and LSU baseball against Texas A&M. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Ruffino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I know this is why all of you tuned in, so I'll just go ahead and let you know. The Cubs bullpen makes me a sad, sad guy sometimes. 5-2 lead in the 6th. 3 spot. We're at 5-5. And again, I know that's why you all tuned in. Just wanted to let you know. They make me a sad.
It's tough.
Sad guy. Keegan Thompson, Auburn Tiger, can't hold the lead. Just a sad state of affairs, but we'll see what we can do in the late innings here. Nothing in the 7th because we just struck out. Let's talk about something different besides the Cubs, and for that we'll bring on Chris Blair. He is the voice of the Tigers, LSU, and Texas A&M. Big 3-game set coming up this weekend. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I hope you're practicing. Hope you're researching. Hope you're ready for Saturday and Sunday.
I'm ready. Does Doug still have 963,000 sheets of paper stuck to the glass in there?
Yeah, you can go back and check out what the Tigers were doing in 2017 if you'd like. You just got to dig underneath all of it.
What's the Coke Zero selection looking like up there? Because that's also a priority for me.
Restocked.
Okay.
Restocked. Ready to roll.
We're in good shape. We like to hear that. For those that are catching up here, I'll be on the call with Chris coming up on Saturday and Sunday. Very much looking forward to it as they go for a sweep here coming up this weekend against the number 1 team in the country. Well, they've won 2 weekends in a row. Do you sense some positive mo for the boys?
Yeah, I mean, you look at these last 2 weeks, Hunt, I'm sure you've talked about it. I mean, they're looking at, 7-2. The previous 2-week period, they were 2-6. Again, picking up the road win at Missouri was good simply because I think it built some momentum. They had some really good moments. And then, of course, you'd love to have been able to pick up 3, not just because it was a series sweep, but because it would have been another SEC win. That didn't come to fruition, but talking to Jay Monday, I talked to him earlier today, he will tell you there are bits and pieces of what he has seen over this last 9-game stretch that tells him really for the first time you're starting to see a little bit more consistency. And it certainly starts with the pitching. I think they've been a lot more consistent, both as starters and certainly out of the bullpen over the last 2 weeks. So, again, you're trying to look at the positive. You're trying to build momentum. You got the number 1 team in the country coming in. The good news is you're playing at home. And maybe this LSU baseball team is starting to play its best baseball. And Jay said it. You've heard all the great coaches over the years in college baseball tell you this time of the year, it's not the best team. It's the team playing their best. And hopefully LSU is getting to that point. They'll certainly need it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And Jay said a bunch of times that momentum's kind of the next guy that takes the baseball for you, and he's going to give it to Gage Jump tomorrow. He's been sensational for 2 weeks in a row. Have you seen a difference in the Tiger left-hander?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just his control and command. And as I mentioned to you last week, I mean, sometimes we forget he did not have a whole lot of college baseball experience, even though he was expected to be a solid pitcher in whatever conference that he ended up playing in. He happens to be in the SEC now, where you see a gauntlet of hitters. But I think his ability to move the angle, move what the hitters are seeing, have really have helped him. And I think he's also, been able to work with Coach Yeski and even Coach Johnson to get a good mix of pitches. I told you last week, I mean, he had Missouri off balance. He had Auburn off balance. I'm excited for him to go out against Texas A&M, a lineup that really doesn't have a whole lot of holes, and see how he fares.
We shall see. Luke Holman has been very, very good most of the season. Had his what I would think was his roughest outing against Missouri, but he bounced back last week and was excellent against Auburn. Have you noticed anything different between the Luke Holman that has given up some hits and the guy that has had a propensity to dominate?
I think it's been, again, going back to at sometimes not being able to find the strike zone and working behind. And, of course, you could say that for any pitcher who is struggling. But when he's working ahead, I mean, he really becomes one of those dominant guys that you see and would expect in either a Game 1 or a Game 2 start in the SEC. And really, you had not seen that, since the Tennessee game. And I think the key has been him just being able to avoid the big innings. And that's what happened in Knoxville. I mean, he had a no-hitter going into the bottom of the sixth, and then when it fell, it fell pretty hard. Never really got into a groove at Missouri, as you pointed out. But I thought last week was the first weekend really in SEC play all year that you had your 1 and 2 guys go out, compete, and certainly give you a chance to win, which this past weekend LSU was able to do. To me, that's the biggest sign.
Yeah, they're going to need that in a big way coming up tomorrow and on Saturday. What do you think about Michael Braswell in the leadoff spot?
He certainly, you look at the numbers, we discussed it on Tuesday night when we saw him in the leadoff spot. There's been a number of guys try that, as you well know, and nobody's really kind of fit into that groove just yet. And Braswell's hit the ball extremely well in SEC play and overall. And frankly, talking to people I know at South Carolina, that was kind of one of their big, are you looking for him to hit the baseball? And it was like, well, I think sure, but I think also we're looking for a solid defensive shortstop. So there was kind of a question mark as to how well he would hit the ball this season. And lo and behold, like I said, you look at different categories, he's at the top in every one of them for LSU. Does that translate into being the leadoff hitter? Well, I don't know if there's a big enough sample size because they've tried so many different guys, Paxton Kling, Mac Bingham, Stephen Milam, and as you mentioned, Braswell, even seen Jared Jones. I think certainly his numbers at this point of the season where you're trying to put your best foot forward, I don't have a problem with him getting up there, finding a way to get on base because, these 25 home runs that LSU has hit since the UNO game, this past Tuesday, none of them were solo home runs. But of the 81 home runs, 44 of them are solo shots. So it's important when you get Tommy White to the plate or Jared Jones to the plate or Hayden Travinsky to the plate, you got to have somebody on. I think Michael makes as good a candidate as anybody right now to be on base when those guys come up.
Jay Johnson said something that caught my attention on our morning show this morning, chatting with Jake and T-Bob. He said it on Tuesday after LSU bludgeoned Grambling that Tommy White got up in front of the team and mentioned that the number 1 team in the country was coming into town this weekend and a big opportunity that was for LSU. I don't think of Tommy necessarily as a rah-rah leadership guy, certainly not as his first year last year with a team that had so many on it. But I think for him to say something on Tuesday, that meant something to me. I would expect LSU to come out with their hair on fire tomorrow. It may not result in anything, but it just feels like they're going to be fired up to play.
No, I think it's monumental. I think that's kind of, not that I don't want to say this. I've been around Tommy enough to know that he, again, has got the kind of a low-key kind of, I do what I do, and he's not super vocal. He's a great guy. He's got a great sense of humor. But for him to make that statement, I think couldn't come at a better time. And I think, he's looking at these 10 games remaining, 9 in the SEC. Does he want to miss out on postseason play? Absolutely not. This is his last chance. Expected to be his last chance, to play college baseball. So if it's just because he's looking at the calendar and he wants to fire his teammates up, I certainly think that's better late than never, put it that way.
No question about that. Christian Little has showed something last weekend for sure. Do you expect to see him in a big spot this weekend?
It's interesting. I think you're going to see, I think Christian Little certainly is going to be in the mix. I think Samuel Dutton is going to be a guy that we'll see out of the bullpen this weekend. I mean, I think there's been a complete change in who you're counting on now over the last, again, maybe 4-week period. I mean, you go back to the Tennessee series, it was pretty evident Coach Jay Johnson was making a statement. We're going to Aiden Moffitt, we're going to Christian Little, we're going to Sam Dutton, we're going to Cam Johnson. I mean, he made a change as to who you were expecting to see come out of the bullpen from the early part of the SEC. And I think Christian Little, what a magnificent performance over the weekend. Again, he looked powerful and he looked dominant. And that's kind of what everybody here has been waiting for since he came to LSU. And if it's coming in now, again, it's a great time to do it. And I expect him to really challenge and be out there this weekend against Texas A&M.
I'm kind of thinking the box is going to be on Springs this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of get the sense it will be. I certainly hope it is. I mean, it's a great opportunity to see, two great programs go at it. And, not every day do you have the number one team coming in. LSU's done it again. This will be, I believe, the second time that they faced them, but this is the first time, here at the box. I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere. It's great that both Friday and Saturday are night games. I think that will help contribute to it as well. I just hope LSU offensively can get production. That was the problem in Sunday's game against Auburn. And this is an A&M team that I think is just under 10 runs a game they're averaging on the season. And again, I think the pitching certainly can help maybe keep them under 10 runs. But if indeed they're able to score some runs, you've got to make sure you can score with them. And we've seen it at times this year from LSU, not just in Tuesday's game, but sprinkled throughout the SEC schedule. They got to be ready to score runs. And Jay said it earlier today, Texas A&M doesn't need any help. And so the other line that he is looking at is the fact that the free passes have dropped tremendously from both starters and the bullpen because they can swing the bat. Don't put any free passes aboard to make a 1 or 2 run inning turn into a 5 or 6 run inning.
I got babysitting duties tomorrow night, but I'll see you Saturday at the box.
Sounds good. I'll have Coke Zero. They'll be iced up, ready to go.
We'll see you then there, Chris. Thanks.
You got it.
He's Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. Duggar is going to be on the color on Friday with Chris for Game 1. I will be on the color with Chris in Games 2 and 3, hoping for some good stuff this weekend at the box. I think everybody around here is, and easier said than done. Ags are pretty damn good, but LSU has got an opportunity to change the way this season has looked based on the course of 72 hours at the box over the weekend. I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk a lot about it tomorrow on the show as well. We'll pause for a timeout. We got 30 minutes left to go here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
I tell this story all the time. College World Series last year, leaving church, headed back home, going to watch Paul Skeens toe the rubber in the College World Series opener. One afternoon shower came through, knocked my power out. I ended up at my wife's friend's in-laws' house watching the game. That's not what you need to do. Get a Generac generator at your home so you don't have to worry about the power going out. And when it's time to watch a game, you can watch the game. Or when it's time to get some work done because you work from home, you can do it even though the power's out because you've got that Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. I'm going to give you the phone number here in a second, but let me tell you that every single Generac generator that comes from Boudreaux's is going to come with a 7 to 10 year warranty on that piece of equipment. It depends on the type of generator that you get, but they'll help you through that process every step of the way. Some have a lot of square footage need to be powered. Some have more modest square footage. They'll customize the generator in that way. Some want the entire house powered. Some just want it to stay cool and maybe the TV works and the fridge is still running. Either way, they can help you over at Boudreaux's Electric. Get that Generac generator installed at your home. The number is 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. They got a location in Napoleonville. They got a location in Gonzales opening very, very soon. But if you're in our listening area, here in the Baton Rouge area, they can help you at Boudreaux's Electric. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing, and sheet metal.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. 2 more Saints undrafted free agents join us, Trajan Jeffcoat and Sincere Hainsworth. And Kendall Rogers stops by to preview the baseball weekend ahead in the SEC. It's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
While you're busy with spring cleaning, we'd like to add to the clutter in your bank account to the tune of $2,000. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust. Register today at 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
So LSU and Texas A&M coming up this weekend. A little bit of an injury update. Well, first of all, before we get to the injury update, some news that LSU just announced via Koki Riley's Twitter feed there, who joins us on Wednesdays. Friday, so tomorrow, and Saturday are both going to be on ESPN2. So if you're looking to watch some LSU baseball and struggle with the streaming at time, got cable, ESPN2. It's right there on Friday and Saturday. Sunday's game will be SEC Network Plus. They may have our call on that one from the LSU Sports Radio Network. So just an update there for your viewing pleasure for LSU and Texas A&M. Jay Johnson met with the media earlier today and gave a few injury updates. One was with Nate Ackenhausen. LSU does not know his availability for this weekend. Jay Johnson said today they will not make a decision on his status until tomorrow. It would surprise me a little bit if Ackenhausen was inactive this weekend. He's too important to the team if you can use him on Sunday. And to make that call on Friday, he would have to really be hurt for you to make that call. So I would expect that Nate will be active for the weekend. Maybe he's not available on Friday, which you'd love to have him, but You've got everybody ready to go on Friday, depending on what the situation is in the game. If you want to go to Griffin Herring, you can do that. You want to go to Gavin Guidry, you can do that. You want to go to Christian Little, you can do that. Thatcher Hurd as well. Like, you've got your full complement of guys on Friday, and then depending on how things shake out, Saturday or Sunday. I think Jay would really like to use Ackenhausen as a starter on Sunday. This is an A&M lineup that the meat of it hits left-handed. The best two hitters on the team, Jace Lavalette and Braden Montgomery, hit left-handed. Jump and Ackenhausen make a lot of sense against those guys. I think at some point you're going to see Justin Lohr in the game to try to deal with these left-handers. I don't know what Cade Anderson's role is this weekend, but LSU's got a pretty strong complement of left-handed pitchers, certainly Herring being chief among them, to go after this Texas A&M lineup, and Ackenhausen would be really nice to have in that way, and I would really like to see him start the game on Sunday. But obviously, as you all know, you're going to do whatever you can to win any game that you can, and quite frankly, you're very unlikely to get to a point in the 7th or 8th inning where you feel like you can pitch down the line with a lead with A&M. You could get to a point where you're down 6 runs and pitch off, but if you're up like 6 in the 8th against A&M, you can't pitch off. I just told you, and if you're just jumping in the car or weren't aware of this, Georgia literally scored 9 runs against A&M in the first inning in Game 2 of last weekend's series. They lost the game 19-9. They gave up an 8 spot in the bottom half of the first. It was a 17-run first inning, 9 and then 8. It's a totally frightening Texas A&M lineup. So if you get a lead, your dudes have to come in, and they have to stay in. I don't think you're going to get to a point where you can 10-run this team or get to a point where you feel like you can just pitch off like LSU did against Missouri in Game 1 of that series. I don't see that happening. So that's one piece to this. I want to talk about who you might use as a starting pitcher, and quite frankly, it's not something I can speak directly to without knowing how things are going to go in the first 2 games, but I'm not completely ready to punt on Cade Anderson, and I'm not ready to rule out Christian Little in those spots. I think we all kind of point towards Ackenhausen, and we know that Hurd has done that in the past, so those are options. But if Jump looks really good, I'm not ready to completely rule out Cade Anderson. Let's remember, his SEC stats are terrible. I completely understand that. And if you had 5 options in front of him that were a lot better, then I would absolutely endorse those. But it wasn't like Auburn knocked him all over the yard. They hit a flare down the right field line and a couple of 16 hoppers through a shifted infield. It wasn't like he couldn't find the strike zone or it was a laser show. He's given up his fair share of rockets. Tennessee knocked him all over the place. It has happened, and certainly A&M could. But I'm not going to use the Auburn outing as a complete disqualifier for Cade Anderson in Game 3. I'd like to see Ackenhausen go, and because this pitching staff has not shown me a number of guys who I can definitely trust, Christian Little threw it better than anybody last week. And it's not like it was 88 with a loopy slider. He's always had 94, 96 with a slider. Now, it's gotten lit up for the better part of 4 college years. I get it. None of these options are perfect. But if you don't use Christian Little in the first 2 games, I'm not completely opposed to going to him in Game 3. It doesn't mean that it couldn't implode. The one guy I'm not super keen on using as a starter is Griffin Herring. And I'm fully aware that you could get to a point like you did last week where he comes in the game and you're already down 5. I get it. And all this talking that I'm doing around in circles and circles as I discuss options and situations and games comes with the understanding that if there were perfect options, LSU would go to them, and they wouldn't be in the situation they are right now in terms of their SEC record. None of the options are perfect. They all come with their inherent risk. But those are some names that I'm willing to explore if Nate Ackenhausen has been used or is not available. The other injury update that Jay Johnson gave today, which is really disappointing, is that Ethan Fry's shoulder is still an issue. And we know that he was just kind of hitting his stride. He had that huge hit in the game at Southeastern. He swung the bat pretty well that next weekend, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this is a guy that's going to be able to help and grow into the all-conference caliber talent he could be. I mean, this is a guy that's 6'4", big, physical. He can run pretty well. He hits the ball hard. Maybe he's growing into that role. And then you look up and he jams his shoulder and he just hasn't been right. And Jay said that he hasn't been able to play any defense because of it, and it just hasn't gotten a lot better. And LSU has dealt with shoulder issues for a couple of years now. Cade Doty did that in the game in Nashville 2 years ago at second base, and then it hurt again in the regional, and he kind of gutted through it. Last year, we're all well aware that Tommy White, in the first inning of the first game of the season, dove back into the bag, and that bothered him the entire year. And this year, Ethan Fry is the guy who jammed his shoulder, diving back into the base. And they've been done different ways. Fry and Whites were diving into the base. Cade Doty was diving, trying to catch a ground ball. But it just lingers. And White had to have surgery to get his better, and I don't know what the case is with Ethan Fry. And that's a guy this program was hoping to count on some late this year, and certainly as you look to next year is going to be looking to replace a lot of production. Tommy White is not going to be back, and we'll see what Jared Jones decides to do, but theoretically he could leave after a big power season. He's got a year of leverage left, so he could certainly come back. But you're going to be looking for some guys to replace some production, and Ethan Fry, you'd like to be that guy, but it's just hard to improve and to get better and to grow as a player when you're limited in how much you can practice and how much you can play. We've seen this with Brady Neal now for 2 years. He was a starting catcher for 3 months last year, gets hurt, has to sit the rest of the season, goes up to Cape Cod League, gets hurt again, has to come back, is limited in the fall, and all of a sudden he just hasn't gotten the requisite bats to continue to develop his game, and his numbers aren't very good. And now Ethan Fry didn't play last year because there was no room in the lineup for him, and then he has his opportunity this year to kind of break through as a sophomore, and now he can't really play and can't probably practice enough as he'd like to, and it's just super disappointing in a career that's so shrunk down in college to miss that much time due to injury. You're seeing it right now with Chase Shores. You're seeing it right now with Jaden Newt. I mean, those guys have now been on campus for almost 2 full years, and they've combined to throw 20 innings? And you realize that their time is coming up. Like they could be gone in a year and 2 months. So it's just injuries in college suck because it's such a condensed time frame, and it sounds like Ethan Fry is just fighting it to try to get out there and help in any way that he possibly can. So that's a bummer on the injury front. Didn't hear anything about Brady Neal today, but we talked to Koki about it yesterday, and it sounds like Brady Neal is ready to go and should be a full go. As I mentioned back in the first segment I did of the entire show, Texas A&M's starting rotation, the only 2 guys they've announced, both left-handed. Sounds like maybe a Milazzo situation as well as Stravinsky. Maybe when they go to the bullpen, you see Chris Cortez, who's a really tough right-hander. Maybe you go to Brady Neal instead of Milazzo there. We'll see. LSU's going to have to score some runs to win this weekend. Maybe Neal factors in at some point there as opposed to Milazzo in a pinch hit role or even a starting role based on how the matchups look. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers Wing Bar. 2 locations here in Baton Rouge. Nicholson just south of campus. Bluebonnet in front of the ball, Louisiana. If you want to watch LSU baseball this weekend, no better spot to get there than Pluckers. ESPN 2 Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday. Friday's first pitch at 7, Saturday 6:30, Sunday at 1 o'clock. Pluckers will have all those games on, as well as your NBA playoff action, Major League Baseball action, whatever you need. They've got it on at Pluckers. They do me a solid every single Tuesday, and they put the Cubs on one TV every single Tuesday when I go for trivia, which is very kind of them. They'll do the same for you if you put in that request. They've also got Breggie's Creole Crush. Awesome brand new sauce there, courtesy of Alex Bregman, so get on by and try that as well. We got one more time out to go. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and get on down the road. It's a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. $1,000 off. I banged the table. $1,000 off. Tell One Bath and Closets during that free consultation, hey, I heard about you on the Hunt Palmer Show on ESPN Radio. Bam. $1,000 off right there. Whether you're doing a full-scale bathroom renovation, a brand new custom closet, or something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion, they can help you at One Bath and Closet. It all starts with that free consultation. They come over, doesn't cost you a cent. They show you what they can do, put something together customized for you, and then they start that project. And I can promise you this with One Bath and Closets. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Not one of these contractors. Get in, get it done, get out, get to the next job. not One Bath and Closets. They will do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. You've been doing something for 30 years. You know what you're doing. David Duvall and his team, 30 years of redesigning bathrooms and closets. Check them out online. It's onebathandclosets.com. Got testimonials, got pictures of their great work, and that free consultation, $1,000 off for Hunt Palmer Show listeners at One Bath and Closets.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD.
Join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're getting you ready for the weekend, the NBA playoffs, Kentucky Derby, and LSU baseball against Texas A&M. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Top of the ninth, City Field. Cubs and Mets tied at 5. Edwin Diaz is coming in. They're playing trumpets. We beat him the other night in a tie game, so hopefully the same happens again there in Flushing, Queens. I will be certain to keep all of you listeners updated on how the Cubs are doing. That is my promise to you here in this final segment of the show on Thursday. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse. As always, remind you to download the Rouse's app. You're looking for crawfish boiled or live, they got them at Rouse's. Just go on in. I can speak for Burbank and Lee and the one here, Florida Boulevard. You go in to the left. That's where all the seafood is. That's where all the crawfish are. You want them already boiled, you want them live, they can help you there at Rouse's. Always an awesome option for your crawfish this time of year. Jacob Beck, take it or leave it.
Alrighty, first one here. The owners of the 76ers and former minority owner Michael Rubin have purchased tickets for Thursday's Game 6 of Philadelphia's playoff series against the Knicks in an attempt to block Knicks fans from once again overrunning Wells Fargo Center. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think that's a great thing if you can do it, and you've got a situation where your fans are just burned out on bad playoff basketball and losses and not winning a championship, and you've got a fan base that's right down the road that is fired up about their Knicks in a spot that they haven't been in a long time. So, yeah, they've got a problem with the fans. You're talking about how far is
it's
it
not
from
far. It's
Manhattan to
a
Philly?
couple of hours, maybe.
Like 2 hours? Like, yeah. I think if you got the money and you got the ability to help some people out by giving them tickets to a playoff game they might not be able to afford and get some more Philadelphia fans in there, I think it's a good deal. Signal's not a great spot for the Sixers organization.
Yeah.
But I agree with them trying to help their team out by getting some more Philly fans in there. So have at it.
All right, next one here. Oklahoma quarterback General Booty has entered the transfer portal. Booty will be a coveted portal acquisition. Take it or leave it.
This is Josh's son, correct? Is that right?
I know. I
Or is
think
it
he's a
Abram's
nephew.
son?
I think he's the nephew.
Abram's son?
Yeah, I think so.
Got to be a Shreveport product, probably a Calvary Baptist product. I don't believe he will be a coveted
I don't think so.
commodity because I didn't know he was at Oklahoma,
Yep.
and I didn't really know where he went to high school, and probably was in my hometown. So can't imagine this is a huge needle mover. It's a great name, and one that you might want to add for the all-name team. Do I think he's going to necessarily lead your team to the promised land in college football? Probably not.
Maybe not. All right, moving on. Kirby Smart and Georgia have agreed to a 2-year contract extension, making him the highest-paid coach in college football. Smart will finish his coaching career with the Dogs. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
I don't know if he's going to be 71 when that happens, like Nick. But I don't know that Kirby is going to go to the NFL. And I don't think he'll ever leave Georgia because there's really nowhere else for him to go. He's built that into a monster. They're going to build a statue of him. He's an alum. There's no reason for him to take the Texas job or the USC job or the Ohio State job or even, obviously, the Alabama job. Like, there is no step up for him from Georgia other than the NFL. If the NFL comes knocking, you never know. But maybe Kirby finishes his career at 61, and it's like Bob Stoops-ish because you had a great run, and you made a ton of money, and you don't feel like chasing 17-year-olds around and sucking up to him anymore. So, yeah, I think this is his last college stop, and I don't know that he screams NFL. He's a guy that screams to me, I want to be able to stack the deck with the players like Nick did, and they're kind of cut from the same cloth in that way. So, yeah, it's a great situation that they're in because they've got a young coach who's not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm trying to think of some other, like maybe a college basketball one that rivals that with a young coach that's just not going anywhere.
Probably John Shire, honestly.
Oh, yeah, probably. Not quite going to put that in the same breath. But yeah, Dan Hurley is a fairly young guy who's going to be around for a long time, I think, as well. Maybe the NBA could come calling for him too. But yeah, that's a great spot for him, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
All right, next one here. According to Steelers running back Jalen Warren, special teams coordinator Danny Smith has suggested the Steelers might try Justin Fields as a kickoff returner. With the new kickoff rules put in place for the upcoming season, Fields returning kicks. Take it or leave it.
I've been doing this show 3 years. That's one of the dumbest suggestions I've ever heard, and take it or leave it. Justin Fields can't be one of the fastest guys on the Steelers.
He runs a 4.4, I think. I mean, he's pretty fast.
I mean,
he's definitely not the fastest.
I asked Jake Flynn, LSU strength coach, in my pregame interview that I had with him in like November of this year, like, was Jaden Daniels one of the fastest guys on the team? He's like, no, he's not one of the fastest guys on the team. Like, there are plenty of guys that run faster than him, but when he's got the ball in his hands, like, he moves just fine. And so it's kind of that situation. I have no doubt that Justin Fields is a quick NFL player. I would think he would finish down the line in their wide receiver and cornerback 40 lines, 100 lines. Like, I don't think he's that fast. That's a bad idea.
All right, last one here. Tiger Woods has been given a sponsor's exemption to the U.S. Open this year. He did not qualify any other way because his Masters loss is far behind him. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It needs to be earned, and I'm not about handing spots to everybody. I don't need Jim Furyk to have one because he won a U.S. Open one time. But for the immortals of the game, they deserve it. And like you've seen, the folks that have gotten this, it's been Sam Snead, it's been Arnold Palmer, Jack got 9 of them.
Tom Watson probably got a few.
Yeah, and so it's the titans of the game, and Tiger is the chief among those. So, I don't expect him to play very well. I wouldn't even expect him to make the cut at the U.S. Open. It's just too difficult for him, and it's not where he can just get it around like Augusta or even one of the courses over in Scotland where they're flat and you just hit iron shots and figure it out. Like, this is just too tough a test for him with where his body and game are right now, but he should be there. And again, I'm not trying to give these out to Webb Simpson or just because you've won a major, like, yeah, come on in. Tiger gets it, and so I'm all for that.
I do wonder how long Tiger will take these, because he said before that if he doesn't think he can win, then, which I don't know how truthful that statement is. Where
he's also delusional.
Yeah, he probably does actually think he can win. I'm not sure if he actually truly believes that, but even if he does, it is kind of it will surprise me if we see him taking these sponsors exemptions for like multiple years to come when he's clearly not going to have any possibility of winning.
I mean, he shot 82 at Augusta, and he did that again at the old course. Like, if he does that a few more times, then he will quit. Like, he's not gonna go up there and just be a dog and pony show. But I do believe his mental approach to this is, I can beat these guys on the right day. He's wrong, but I think that's what he thinks. I'll give him a couple more years at doing it. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, and, of course, on YouTube. Thanks to Luke Johnson for coming on and talking Saints, Joe Healey from SEC Extra's D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team, and Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. We also talked LSU defensive tackles, and a mock draft for 2025 features 3 LSU Fighting Tigers. All right. Hope you'll have a great Thursday. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.